Good evening, folks. This is Deb Delapiano, and this is the Factivist report for Sunday, the 24th of July. And we're going to talk tonight about some things that the people need to start thinking about and doing and taking action on. We are in a very precarious situation here, folks, and we need all hands on deck if we plan to survive this right-wing onslaught. They are not going away. And we're gonna talk about, to start off, we're gonna talk about a couple of, popular notions that actually aren't true. So let's start right here. Let's start with the notion that your vote doesn't matter. Now, that's a popular 2016 commentary that, was quite erroneous, actually. If your vote did not matter, the Republicans would not be indulging in this kind of shit. Now, Dave went over this in a video not too long ago, so I'm not going to go into detail here, but this is called gerrymandering, where they switch up districts to favor one party over another. And while both parties have done this over the course of American history, nobody has done this with the intent of disenfranchising so many voters as the GOP. We have a long history, by the way, of voter disenfranchisement, voter suppression in this country. And I don't have the article up, I don't believe here, but I will put the article in. It's a shameful history, actually. So if your vote didn't matter, the Republicans wouldn't have any need to do any of this. This is just not necessary if your vote doesn't matter. If you go to the polls and cast your ballot, none of this shit matters, then why are they bothering to do all of this? They're doing this because it does matter. They know they're unpopular. They know their programs are wildly unpopular. And they know several things: women, poor people, people of color, trans people, LGBT people are not going to vote Republican by and large. There are some people who vote Republican in the gay community. It's an oxymoron I will never understand. But by and large, those people don't vote GOP, and they know that, and those are their target points of oppression.
One thing that I will say is that Deb and I looked it up, and the U.S. House of Representatives right now, the Democrats have a 9-vote majority. So basically, the Republicans need a 5 vote swing, or 5 representative swing. This gerrymandering affects 4 Democratic districts. So
you need to understand what's going on here. So I still think the Democrats can maintain that, but you have to vote, because if you stay home, this wins. You need to understand that.
Have you saw an article that basically said that gerrymandering is a wash at this point?
I did.
Yeah. But if the Republicans,
there are other articles that say something very different.
Right.
Let's not err on the side of stupidity. Here,
right.
Okay? And complacency and laziness and
arrogance and
and whatever the fuck. Okay. Just do what you need to do.
Right.
And if there was no need, because our votes don't matter, then we would not have had this. The timeline of a premeditated coup. This is what happened here in the United States on the 6th of January. Actually, it started well before the 6th with the lie that the votes were stolen from Donald Trump. They were never stolen from Donald Trump. He did not get the votes he needed to win. It's as simple as that. because he had the worst fucking presidency in the history of the world. This was all done by design. There's a timeline you can look at. You can look at the insanity meetings to overturn the votes in states. You can listen to the right-wing media bullshit. You can look at the extremists that mobilized behind Trump, the invasion of the Capitol. None of that would have happened had the votes not mattered, because Trump would have gotten reelected. People need to understand that that's an erroneous statement. Your vote does not matter. You know what? We live in a country where we can vote. There are plenty of people who live in countries where they can't vote. And in a country like this with, 50% turnout, that's fucking pathetic. Let me just say that.
In terms of the media, real quick, when someone says that they're not right wing or left wing and then turns around and endorses Ron DeSantis and says that Joe Biden shouldn't be president, and I'm talking about Joe Rogan, they're full of shit. They're a right winger. So listen to what these people are saying. There is no more, gray area with this. None. When you're talking, you're a Ron DeSantis supporter, you're right wing.
Right.
Okay. Wow. I'm just saying, you support Abbott or any of these guys, Jim Jordan, any of them, you're right wing.
You are indeed. And by the way, not just, the issue of abortion or the issue of gay rights, but overall, if we're going to survive as a democracy, the American people need to pay attention to what happened on January 6th, not just decide, well, that was, over a year and a half ago. Let's just put it behind us. You put it behind us, it's fated to happen again. And they know this. I think it's kind of pathetic that the biggest challenge that the J6 Commission had was getting the people interested. Maybe that's because we take what we have here for granted. I don't know. But whatever it is, that was not a peaceful protest that got out of hand. That was well-planned, well-funded. They were armed, and they were fucking serious. And if they can't steal the next election by gerrymandering, they will repeat this process. By the way, if we were hoping for any, resistance from the libertarian portion of the Republican Party, we can forget that now. They have crossed over to the dark side. They have they call themselves paleo-libertarians now. They believe that the election was stolen from Donald Trump. They now follow the ruminations of a clown named Lou Rockwell. But what actually happened here was they have this thing called the Mises Conference, which has taken over the libertarians. And they are, again, it used to be libertarians didn't care if you were gay. They didn't care if you were trans. They didn't care about any of that stuff. Now they care. Okay. The extremism has spilled over into the Libertarian Party. And by the way, the person that they named their caucus after would actually turn over in his grave because he didn't care about any of that shit. So I don't know why they're using him as the bellwether, but they are. So the libertarians are now fully in there so that when we come up to an election where a GOP member doesn't win, they're going to join the cry of the election was stolen because that's where their heads are at. Now they're free market Nazis. Let's just put it that way. Okay.
Right. I mean, just the creed of the libertarians used to be no government involvement in anything in right. anybody's life.
Right. So, this whole party thing, this Mises Caucus is named after a classical liberal economist, Ludwig von Mises, who really didn't really care about all of this nonsense, but apparently they do. And this is the guy who, writes about this stuff, Lou Rockwell. He is, a total whack job.
New World Order. There it is.
It's the New World Order. Yeah, the New World Order is here. It's called, it is called oppression. It's called the Republican Party is the New World Order, just so you understand that. They're full-on right-wing Nazis now. There is absolutely no relief in sight for the GOP because anybody who voted to impeach Donald Trump is leaving the party. Adam Kinzinger is not running for re-election. Liz Cheney is running for re-election, but is getting clobbered by a Trump QAnon candidate. There is no saving, there is no way that we have any old school Republicans left now.
Just for 1 second, is the World Economic Forum going to turn space into a penal colony?
Yeah.
By the way, the answer is no.
No. Yeah, CDC job posting reveals they lied. The vaccines are unsafe and Pfizer lied too. Yeah, okay. Let's move along here. So the beginning of all of this, of their power, was taking the Supreme Court. This was the major part of their plan to take the reins of government. And they are fully in the belief zone that they are going to win back power in 2022. There's one thing between that and saving this country, and it's called the Democrats and the left. And you're going to have to do what needs to be done because this whole thing is being driven by the Heritage Foundation. We're going to go into a little bit of detail. These are their... so they've got this thing called the 2025 Presidential Transition Project. And I'm going to show you some of the board members that they've pulled on board. But these are the project's advisory board: the Alliance Defending Freedom, America First Legal, American Legislative Exchange Council, or ALEC, the people who rubber stamp and cookie cut bills to cross the nation. They did it with the Stand Your Ground laws. They've done it with the abortion laws. The Center for Renewing America. There's a whole list here. Concerned Women for America, which translates to we don't give a fuck about rights. We're our husbands' wives.
Deb, so my screen is completely blank. I don't know if anybody can see it.
I don't know why, but I can see it.
Okay. I'm just saying.
Family Research Council, Susan B. Anthony, Pro-Life America. That's an oxymoron. Now, anybody who wants any kind of proof of just how extreme the Republicans are and the right wing is, they have Viktor Orban speaking at CPAC this year. He did speak at CPAC overseas as well last month. So they are branching out. They're looking at a worldwide right-wing takeover. All right, this is not a joke. This is the real deal.
By the way, Viktor Orban, in his recent meetings, is talking about talking against mixed race relationships. This is where we are going again. Okay. So I'm just, Deb and I are warning you.
Don't sit there and say it can't happen here. Okay. They did that in Germany. We all saw what happened there.
Viktor Orban is going to, or did he already go? He's going to CPAC.
No, it's coming up.
It's coming up.
It's coming up.
Fox News, fucking Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson is backing Viktor Orban.
Right. So, and by the way, he's not the only, he's very good friends with Donald Trump. Donald Trump might actually show up at CPAC. Much in the same way that Donald Trump endorsed the other clown from Brazil.
Bolsonaro.
Bolsonaro. He endorsed Bolsonaro for re-election in Brazil, a dictator. He's a dictator. Viktor Orban, just generally speaking, dismantled democracy in Hungary. And they are using his tactics to dismantle democracy here. So here we have the 2025 Presidential Transition Project. Okay. These are their advisory board. Now, the conservative movement is coming together. Got it? They're coming together. These are the people that are going to be involved in this. You know, Tom Jones, founder, American Accountability Foundation. They want only the highest caliber people working in the federal government. Jordan Sekulow, executive director, American Center for Law and Justice. That's rich because there isn't anybody that follows the law in the GOP. They are the most lawless goddamn political party I've ever seen, this particular version of the GOP. They're talking about threatening, you know, the Biden is threatening their fundamental liberties. These people have been overturning everybody's liberties since Donald Trump was elected. And they have not stopped, by the way, since he lost the election. He left behind an entire cadre of oppressive right-wing Nazis to continue on in his wake, and they are doing it. One thing they're doing is they are beating us within this system, and we need to fight back in this system. The notion that we can just ignore this because the system doesn't work. Well, it's working for them, so we need to make it work for us. That's how this whole thing goes. You know, we got the Family Research Council here. Okay, Tony Perkins. This is a hate group, by the way, as designated by the Southern Poverty Law Center. And here we have the Trump administration embraces the Heritage Foundation policy recommendations. Now, there is an entire PDF file on what these policy recommendations are. I could click on it and show it to you, but it's too small to read. I am going to upload it to the website later. But let me just give you an idea of some of the policy things that are on this. Overturn airline price regulation. Once again, you know, we're going to go back and deregulate industries. Rescind guidance redefining sex to mean gender identity. Reduce funding for the Department of Education Office for Civil Rights by 50%. End the Head Start program. Eliminate federal loan forgiveness. Reform the White House initiative on historically Black colleges and universities. Eliminate community development block grants. Eliminate tribal housing activities. You see any pattern here? Repeal and replace Obamacare. That's been on the docket for a long time. All of you people who have Obamacare now, if you let the GOP take power in November, I promise you, you won't have it for much longer. You need to understand this. All they need is the majority to kill Obamacare. Reform the Department of Housing and Urban Development. Reverse the Obama administration's directive allowing assistance for needy families. That means food stamps are going away. Eliminate teen pregnancy prevention grants. Disentangle women's health from the abortion issue. People need to understand exactly what the Heritage Foundation is doing here in conjunction with the GOP. Now, we've talked about indoctrination, and you know the right always talks about how the left is indoctrinating children. This is the Turning Point meeting that was recently held, where, you know, Matt Gaetz spoke to a bunch of young people about how the only women who care about abortion are the ones who are too ugly to worry about it. We have a meeting where we have neo-fascists holding swastikas outside. You don't think that's indoctrinating kids talking like that, showing them this? Now, they say they weren't invited, but you know what? The right wing has been playing footsie with neo-Nazis for quite some time now. All right, that does not ring true. All right, they weren't inside the building, but they were outside the building. Here's some more indoctrination for you. Florida offers new training for teachers that says it was a misconception that the founders desired a strict separation of church and state. Florida, Arizona, and Texas are the training ground for authoritarianism right now. And this guy is full-on fascist, and he is going to run for president. And by the way, anyone who thinks he may be an improvement over Trump should think again.
Deb, one real quick thing.
Yeah.
Charlie Crist, for any of those of you who are paying attention and say, well, Charlie Crist was once a Republican. Number one, he's a Democrat now. And number two, would you rather have him or DeSantis? Charlie Crist will be the person running against DeSantis more likely than not.
Right. And
he has to get in.
He does. And I will tell you this right now, he's going to have his work cut out for him writing that state, because they still have an overwhelmingly right-wing legislature. This legislature, by the way, in Florida, the article isn't here, but it's been in several of my other videos. This legislature turned over redistricting to Ron DeSantis. They weren't even involved in it, and they rubber stamped everything he did. When it was brought up before the Supreme Court in Florida, they decided to let it stand for the midterms. I don't know what that means, but I've never seen the Supreme Court go back and revisit anything. I think that's bullshit, quite frankly. Florida is telling teachers that religion belongs in public life. No, it does not. There is a separation between church and state. It was intended to be that way. And you know what? They can twist and turn whatever they want. And I don't know how to tell you people this, but you need to wake up, because the Supreme Court has now also made it okay for teachers to lead kids in prayer. And you know what? Even if kids don't want to do that, they see teachers as authority figures, and they're more than likely to follow them. That is a violation of your free speech rights. Here's another one. We have a Christo-fascist aspect to this whole thing. In Kansas, there is actually a constitutional amendment on the books that legalizes abortion. And the Catholic Church is spending to add an anti-abortion constitutional amendment to the state of Kansas Constitution. Catholic Church isn't the only one here. We have the Christian fundamentalists, and we are rapidly becoming, how do I say this, a theocratic form of government. You have had, Lauren Boebert, Marjorie Taylor Greene. Marjorie Taylor Greene openly called herself a Christian nationalist this week. You need to understand what you're putting into office when you vote. These people are damn scary. Did I mention how much I hate this? This thing at the top here. Yeah. So let's talk about how you build power. People were up in arms about this whole thing, all right, when I first presented this article. An anti-abortion group sent a memo to GOP members of Congress urging them not to leave abortion to the states, and outlined talking points to keep pro-lifers on the offense. This is how you build power. This is how people build power. All right? The people on the left need to learn to do this. The people on the right are wrong because they're trying to take away people's fundamental freedoms. But the fact of the matter is what they're doing isn't illegal. It is called pressuring your legislators. It's not, throwing your arms up in the air and saying, I'm not going to vote for him ever again. It's pressuring the people you have in office now. This is how they've gotten this far. This is how they've gotten to this point. All right. So the Supreme Court sent the decision back to the states. That's not good enough for some radical thinkers. They want what? They want a nationwide ban on abortion. And that is what they are going to get. The GOP already has this on their, to-do list. And they have a guy running named Mike Pence. And Mike Pence has said we must not rest until abortion is outlawed in every state. He is not just talking about banning abortion. He is talking about criminalizing abortion. So don't think that we are out of the woods if Donald Trump is not reelected or he does not run. We are not out of the woods, okay? The right wing has been at this for years before Donald Trump. It just so happens that he was the perfect candidate to push us right to the brink of total fascism. And that's where we sit. And here he is, the ever-charming Matt Gaetz, a guy who looks at best like Jimmy Neutron, talking about ugly women. A man who is under investigation for sex trafficking and for having sex with an underage girl. These are the kinds of candidates they are putting in office. And I don't know, the only way to get rid of them, my friends, you can't just fire them. It just doesn't work that way. You need to vote them out. Now we're going to talk a little bit about people who donate. Do we know that money is a problem in politics? We certainly do. Once again, you can thank the Supreme Court for that, a conservative Supreme Court, okay, for deciding that corporations were people. And the only way to get rid of that is by legislation, which would be, election reform, which would require a bipartisan effort or a strong majority for the Democrats. Okay? The notion that we should open up the Constitution for an amendment on this is a mistake. It is a mistake to amend the Constitution in a right-wing climate. You open the Constitution up while these people are here, and anything can happen. That is not the solution. But here we have big money. And this guy actually is the guy who developed PayPal. He is the guy who sat on the board of Facebook, who now believes that he is creating this is how they're selling themselves, the new American right. A belief that democracy and freedom can't live together. You understand what I'm saying? This is his candidate. He has put $13 million into Blake Masters' campaign. And this guy is a total nightmare for democracy in America. Freedom and democracy are incompatible. He is a guy who, I got some notes here, so I don't have to read through this article. So he is a guy who believes, puts stock in certain people. So I'm going to just name a few of them. He has a strong belief in Curtis Yarvin, who describes himself as America's foremost absolute monarchist blogger. Murray Rothbard, a reactionary economist who suggests that libertarians use right-wing populism to push their agenda, which is what they are doing right now, as I told you earlier in the show. He also has a reverence, with some caveats, for a guy named Ted Kaczynski, also known as the Unabomber. And last but not least, every authoritarian loves themselves a despot, but his is the late dictator of Singapore, Lee Kuan Yew, who transformed their economic system while, crushing civil liberties across the country. These are the kinds of people that are running. He is running against Mark Kelly in Arizona. He is running against Democrat Mark Kelly, husband of Gabby Giffords. And we need to keep that seat. If this seat goes to him, I'm telling you, folks, it can't get much worse than that. So we're going to talk about the governors because right now this is the battleground, the governors' races. Now, this won't matter if you let the Republicans take the House and the Senate back, because if you do, they're going to go for a full-on ban, and then there will be no safe state. Massachusetts won't be a safe state. New York won't be a safe state. There will be no safe states. These are the governor's races that we need to win. Okay, we need Stacey Abrams. Georgia is rated as a toss-up. It's pretty close. All of these races are close. Nobody is killing anybody else. It's not like the GOP is hammering these people. But we need to support them, not just with money, although that helps. But we need to canvass where you feel safe canvassing. We need to phone bank. We need to do postcard mailings, whatever it takes. Pennsylvania, it's leaning Democrat, and that's a good thing because the guy that is running, Doug Mastriano, he is a total Trump head. There is no question about it. He is running against a guy named Josh Shapiro. It's leaning Democrat. He has a slight lead right now. We need to keep that going. 53% of Pennsylvania voters believe that abortion should be legal. Michigan, where Gretchen Whitmer leads a miserable life. I can't even imagine her wanting this job, quite frankly, but she does, and she's running, and it's rated a toss-up right now. She works with a totally Republican legislature. She is the only buffer between abortion rights and oppression. Now, it should be noted that there is a pre-Roe abortion ban, which was enacted in 1931 and has no exceptions for rape and incest. And she has acknowledged that there is no way the GOP legislature is going to overturn that. So she has asked the Supreme Court in April to strike it down. And haven't heard anything yet. But a Michigan court did temporarily block it from taking effect in May. So we're still waiting on that one. That's a Hail Mary pass, by the way, expecting the Supreme Court of Michigan to overturn that. Kansas, where they are again, the Catholic Church is trying to get a total abortion ban. This election is rated a toss-up as well. Let's see who's running here. Let's see if I can remember this one here. The Republican frontrunner, Derek Schmidt, he would prefer a future with less abortion, not more. You know what that means? That's dancing around the issue. That means an abortion ban. Wisconsin is also rated a toss-up. Tony Evers, he's a Democrat. He's up for re-election. And he has called for a special legislative session to repeal the state's 173-year-old abortion ban. No exceptions, again, for rape or incest, but only when the pregnant person's life is in danger. Under the ban, doctors who perform an abortion can face 6 years in prison and $10,000 in fines. He has recently offered clemency to those doctors. And he said his attorney general, Josh Call, has said he will not enforce the ban. So we move on to Nevada. 62% of Nevada voters believe abortion should be legal. So these people who are running are not even serving the public in their states, okay? You need to understand that. Joe Lombardo is a pro-life governor. And even though the poll says 62%, want abortion to remain legal, he says the people don't want it to be legal. We have Arizona. They also have a 120-year-old abortion ban on the books. Doug Ducey is leaving. He is term limited. And he has a real crackhead named Carrie Lake who is totally anti-abortion. She is running. Katie Hobbs is the Democrat running. She is the current Secretary of State. And I think you should understand that Carrie Lake is also a Trump head and believes the election was stolen. So she is using that against Katie Hobbs, who, you know, as the Secretary of State, had jurisdiction over the election. So that's important. And what will happen here if indeed the Republicans take control? They spent your taxpayer dollars to meet with an outside consulting group to drum up 23 investigations that they can conduct on Joe Biden and his family to keep him basically on the ropes for the last 2 years of his term. It's not bad enough that they have literally killed almost everything this guy has done. They have literally killed Build Back Better. They have used the filibuster to do that. They've used the filibuster to kill the Voting Rights Act. You know, people blame Joe Biden. This isn't Joe Biden. This is the fact that you did not give Joe Biden a big enough majority in the Senate. 50-50 doesn't work, because even though Kamala Harris is a tiebreaker, the GOP uses the filibuster. And when you start with the filibuster, you need 60 votes, not 50, 60 to override the filibuster, which is why people want to get rid of the filibuster. So we're talking about 23 investigations. We're talking about ridiculous shit. The people, again, from Heritage's Oversight Project are involved in this as well. And in the meantime, Joe Biden has already started making moves because he doesn't know what's going to happen. But he's changed his legal team. He's changed everything because he's anticipating the worst, and he should be. Okay, there are people that he's brought on board that have, you know, that have to, you know, going to have to look at things a little differently now than the people he had on board before. You know, they are literally going to wreak havoc on this guy. And he is going to be spending his time on the defensive, not on the offensive. And that is part of the plan here. Joe Biden risks impeachment if you lose both the House and the Senate. So impeachment now becomes a political game instead of a game, or instead of a you know, a weapon you have to remove someone who has done something egregiously wrong. They couldn't impeach Donald Trump, even though what he did on January 6th is indefensible. They couldn't impeach him because the Republicans were in control. With the Republicans in control, they can find a way to get, they can find a way to impeach Joe Biden. You can bet on that. If you don't think they're capable of this, you're crazy to believe anything other than that. They're virulent and they are dangerous and they are not interested in democracy. I am going to close with this. This is an article by someone who is conservative, who literally says in this article that there is no way you can legitimately support the Republican Party in its present form. In spite of the fact that you're a Republican, you cannot support this party. You cannot give this party any life beyond what it already has. I am hoping, I mean, in Josh Shapiro's case against Doug Mastriano, there are literally Republicans who are endorsing Shapiro. You have to understand where we are in history. And I can't emphasize enough that we can't just sit back here and let the chips fall where they may. It's just untenable. This is not gonna come out well if you allow these people to take power. I think Americans collectively don't understand that history repeats itself. We just got over 4 of the worst years under Donald Trump. We have a GOP that literally wants to kill the CDC. They're planning on, investigating Anthony Fauci. And Rand Paul had the utter gall to warn Mr. Fauci, who was leaving his position before Biden's term is over, that he would still have to testify under oath. I'd like to remind Rand Paul and the rest of the Republicans that the only people who have trouble testifying under oath are the Republicans. They either don't show up or they try to stymie every subpoena they get by wasting time in court. So I don't think Anthony Fauci has anything to hide, quite frankly. And I believe he will do what he needs to do. He's been in front of Congress, I don't know how many times, taking shit from people like Rand Paul, who knows absolutely nothing about infectious diseases. I don't know. He's been doing that since the coronavirus, hit our shores, let's say. And I believe he will continue to do that. There is a page I seem to have lost here that I really would like to recover. So hang on a second. I want to show you something. If I can. All right. So hang on a minute now. Hang on a minute. Let's see if we can pull this off. Be patient. Life is good. Okay, here we go. So I lost this page somewhere in the... This is the website, which has been down now for a day because I'm working on it. But I just wanted to take you through one more thing before we close this. So you have a choice here, You have a choice. The choice is ours. I mean, eventually, it's entirely possible that a lot of these people will be removed from Congress, okay? But we have 147 seditionist senators on the Republican side. They have 221 legislators. 147 of them voted to overturn a legitimate election. They are seditionists. The quickest way to remove those people is not through the government, but through the vote. So they need to be voted out. We need to, number one, and I'm not done with this section yet, but I'm done with the Senate part. We need to protect and expand the Democratic Senate majority. I've already done Blake Masters. I'm not going to go, go hog wild there, but we have Herschel Walker, who is running against Democratic incumbent Raphael Warnock. This guy, aside from the fact that he can't form a full sentence at any time, supports banning abortion without exception for rape and incest in all 50 states. He has a violent history with women, including his ex-wife and former girlfriend. And he doesn't want the left to fool you on this, quote, racism thing. He also claims to have 12 separate personalities. Probably not a good thing for a public official to admit, but yeah. Blake Masters, we've already gone through this. He is getting $13 million from Peter Thiel, who is, a big time corporate honcho. Peter Thiel, it should be noticed, also gave $15 million to J.D. Vance. But Blake Masters has never been out of Peter Thiel's aura. They went to Stanford together. They have a long association. This guy will buy Peter Thiel a place at the table when it comes to policy. Chuck Grassley. A lot of people in Iowa want this guy to go. He is, He's running, against a Democrat, Mike Franken. But Grassley, you should be advised, is in favor of defunding Planned Parenthood. And he also wants to investigate them using your tax dollars. He was instrumental in overturning Roe v. Wade. And as the chairman of the Judiciary Committee, he is the guy who blocked Merrick Garland's nomination during the Obama administration. And he also helped to ram through Amy Coney Barrett on behalf of Donald Trump. Eric Greitens is running for Senate of Missouri, a man who was forced to resign as governor of the state because he sexually assaulted someone. And then it was also revealed that he abused his then wife and children. He stated that a woman's right to control her own body should be sent to the ash heap of history. He also created an ad. He's a former Navy SEAL, created an ad with automatic weapons showing him and a bunch of military type people hunting rhinos, which are the old guard Republicans. He is running against a woman named Trudy Bush Valentine. At the bottom, there are buttons here. You can go to these people's website and you can learn about them. And you can work for them. And you can get rid of these stiffs. Ron Johnson, he's running for a third term in the Senate. We don't know who his opponent's going to be in the Democratic side. That primary is not until August 9th. But the best chance of defeating Johnson is a woman named Sarah Godlewski. And this actually was proposed by somebody named Jennifer Rubin, who I really respect. He is not pro-choice, Ron Johnson. He favors a national restriction on abortion. He's the poster boy for medical misinformation on COVID-19. He voted against the American Rescue Plan, which was the first thing that Joe Biden did to help people out during the COVID, the height of the COVID the height of the COVID problem in America. He also voted against protecting Medicare and voted against protecting American farmers from subsidy cuts. He was also prepared to hand over fake elector ballots to Mike Pence and then claimed he didn't know anything about it, even though the directive came from his office. He also claims there was no violence on January 6, 2021. The other guy we can get rid of is Marco Rubio. He's a Tea Party leftover. He's also anti-abortion, voted against the Violence Against Women Act. He believes that same-sex marriage should be determined by the states, not the federal government, but that they should determine it as being between a man and a woman, not same-sex. He's a climate change denier. And he also has an A+ rating from the NRA because he believes that the Second Amendment is the cornerstone of American democracy. Not anybody else's rights, just guns. And then there are women that we need to protect. These women are up for re-election. Tammy Duckworth, Maggie Hassan in New Hampshire, Patty Murray in Washington, and Catherine Cortez Masto in Nevada. Tammy Duckworth is Illinois, by the way. These people are all pro-choice. Everybody running against these people are pro-choice. Women need to take note of that. And women need to come out en masse because, trust me, folks, honestly, if the right wing is given the keys to the kingdom, it's not going to be a kingdom you like living in. I promise you. And that is where we are.
Real quick, I want to say that the Democratic governors, the female governors that are up for re-election, like my governor, Kathy Hochul, if you're in my state, vote for her. Gretchen Whitmer, vote for her. Yeah, I know Michigan is in turmoil right now. That's because of their state legislature. If you get your state legislature back in check, you're going to need a sane governor. The governorships are important as well.
I'm not done yet. I'm going to put that. That's all going to be on the website tonight.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yes, Kathy Hochul in Massachusetts. We had a Republican governor who is not running again, even though we don't have term limits in this state. He's not running again because he does not fit in with this Republican Party. And he did, by the way, sign legislation to protect a woman's right to choose in this state, even though he's a Republican. And he also signed legislation to make it possible for other people to come to the state from states where abortion is totally banned. So he was one of the, he peacefully coexisted with a very overwhelmingly Democratic legislature. He serves 2 terms here. His name is Charlie Baker. Running in his stead is a total Trump acolyte. I don't even know if I can remember this guy's name. Sometimes I can't because he's so repugnant to me, but he'll be on the website tonight. Maura Healey, the Attorney General of the state, is running for governor also. Maura Healey needs to win. There is another woman running. She's not making much of a dent in the polls right now. It's really going to come down to Maura Healey and Jeff Deal is his name, the guy that's been endorsed by Donald Trump, Jeff Deal. I met him actually at a gun show. I went to a gun show just to see what it would be like, to see what kind of people go to it. And I actually talked to him at a gun show, and I remember leaving and saying to myself, holy shit, if he ever gets elected, we're doomed. And I mean that in all sincerity. It is time for Massachusetts to have its first female governor. And she will be on the website as well. We're going to put on the website tonight all of the key governor races as well. This website, by the way, gives you the whole picture of what the GOP is about. It's not just abortion. It's not just transgender. It's all of it combined. It's the whole gun issue. It's the whole civil rights issue. It's the voter suppression issue. You know, it's not quite done yet. Most of it is done now. And I anticipate having the whole thing done within the next couple of weeks. But it will be coming down again after this meeting because I'm going to continue working on it. It will be up again by tomorrow night. I try to take it down only on the weekends. So that's where we are, folks. Any comments before we kill the recording? Forever now, you can hold your peace, boys and girls. We will talk to you again next week. I will post this tomorrow.